Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Transportation. I'm Greg Stewart with the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization, and today I'm joined by two guests. Today I have,
Michael Dunn, Executive Director of the Rockford, Illinois MPO.
welcome Michael.
Vice Mayor Yvette Colbourne and Chair of the Broward County MPO.
So we're here to talk about data centers and the role of MPOs in our municipal governments in actually helping build data centers. Michael, you've had a little bit of experience on this in Rockford. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Sure. Our role really started perfunctory as a land use exercise. The city of Rockford had annexed really bad farmland, non-productive farmland, around our international cargo airport. It's one of the biggest it's number 14 globally for international cargo, a number 2 hub for UPS. And the thought was going back to early Tiger Grant applications, and we had a Build Back Better application to the EDA. We're pursuing what is called TIFIA, which are low interest loans from USDOT for infrastructure. But going all the way back to the Tiger 1, Tiger 2 days, we were brought in to say, what would a rail-served cargo airport on the interstate industrial park look like for our region? And what are the necessary site readiness elements, transportation, rail, utilities, that we will need a budget for the next 10 years to make it shovel ready? And so we were thrown into that exercise, which is a great exercise in and of itself.
Right.
And then, we are maybe 5 miles away from 2 nuclear reactors. And so
Benefit and or curse.
well, in this case, a very good benefit because it runs on the 345 kVA line right through the site, that all of a sudden the people that were speculating on this for an airport play ended up seeing how much power was there, that was already there, and said, well, it should be a data center.
So with the data centers, because you're bringing up a really valid point, it's the utility, the amount of power going to it. What is the average that they told you they needed? Was it because you had the 2 power plants, or was it because the lines were there? I mean, what kind of drove the decision making?
Yeah, I think on the power side, I could go on way too long about it, but the end of my answer is that when you talk to a tax assessor, like how are we going to tax this? The traditional tax assessment for local government is, square footage or income generation, right? Like that's typically how an assessor is going to come in and say, this is a value being taxed. When we're talking to the experts in their field on assessments, as we negotiate the incentive package, data centers, from what we're being told, are assessed based on their power consumption. Because the power consumption ascribes a metric, a value of how much compute is occurring in the building. And the compute is then kind of translating to, okay, this is how much that property's generating in income. And so energy is everything, right? Without energy, you have nothing. And we're very proud that not only do we believe Illinois is a transportation state, right? And we are a net exporter of clean energy because of our nuclear fleet. We have the largest nuclear fleet in the nation, commercial nuclear fleet. We have 11 reactors at 6 sites just in the Chicagoland grid. The Chicagoland grid is 95% clean, which means it's either nuclear or renewable, very little fossil fuel. So when we plug in our electric cars, they really are not using fossil fuels, right? And so in that case, what I'm being told is these hyperscaling AI data centers need to be by every population center in the country, Chicago being one of them. So Atlanta, Dallas, Miami, right?
Yeah.
They need proximity for latency to be as close on a fiber line to a population hub. And we are well positioned where we're far enough away where you can build a $12 billion campus, right? And have the land, but close enough to serve Chicago. And so the energy is part of that, but many factors.
So Vice Mayor, basically with Miramar, we have the opportunity with the Turkey Point power plant providing up the main line that goes through your town center. There's available land in that area for a data center. If we were looking at the power, I think that that's going to be a fairly easy response, but I really would be interested for our listeners to actually understand what that power needs to look like. And I want to build on the fiber lines. because I don't know where the fiber is near their town center, and we'll be able to find that out over time and do this extensive study that needs to be done. So could you explain a little bit on that?
So this airport site does have rail running through it. We have 4 of the Class 1 railroads running through our community.
Yeah.
And so we are at the advantage that in Northern Illinois and the Chicago area, wherever there was a rail line, that's where the fiber line went. So the fiber lines run under rail lines in our area.
So you knew exactly where it was.
So the site selectors for data center was like, okay, you have a nuclear plant, a landfill, and an airport. We don't think you're going to have a NIMBY issue, right? They called it NIMBY Nirvana, right? Because nobody's going to object to a data center going next to a landfill, a nuclear plant, and an airport. We have a rail line and a fiber line, and we have a 345 kVA line coming from the nuclear plant. And so I think on the energy, ours is going to be looking at 1,200 megawatts.
Yeah.
There's one coming to Chicago that is looking at 2,000 megawatts, so 2 gigawatts.
Okay.
It depends on, is it a storage data center, right? Is it a cloud storage? Is it hyperscaling AI? What kind of data center is it? That will determine the power demand. But here's the thing that confuses me, I guess, is just in Chicagoland, the electric utility is going through a cluster study and clustering the opportunities in cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3 to understand what the impacts are to the grid. And something that's running 24/7, it's not shutting down at night, right? And what is it doing to load on the grid? And so we applaud the utility for doing this cluster analysis.
Yeah.
But we have applications now into, I believe, a 4th cluster. Our site was in the 1st cluster. A lot of deposits had to be made to get in that cluster, and that was years ago. So that also makes our site very valuable because there's a guaranteed electric delivery date.
It's like a vesting.
Yes. And so, but here's where I'm not confused, but I'm intimidated, right? Is that if every cluster 1 project, forget 2 or 3, every cluster, and there's only 7 of them, every cluster 1 project in Chicagoland comes through, I was told by the utility that I believe it represents 5 gigawatts of new energy demand. 5 gigawatts is 5 nuclear reactors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? 5 new nuclear reactors, right? And so, Chicago is powered by 11, right, as of now, right? And so where do we get the generation? And so you'll hear a lot of talk about bring your own generation, so developers and Microsoft, Google, Facebook, they're going to have to bring their own generation, right, to make sure rates don't go up on current residents and current businesses.
Greg, I'm excited to see that transportation has led us into talking about data centers. It's new. It's new. It's not something that we have really dealt with in terms of transportation or thinking of it in terms of data centers. And
the data centers run the potential, as we've been working on the Smart Metro project,
right?
And Miramar is one of our member governments for this. It's been, okay, well, we need a data center because the cloud storage, all the things that we're going to need to be running out of a data center,
right,
it needs to exist. And that needs to happen all over the country, not just in our area, not just in yours. So getting out of our conversation today is how do we emulate what's been done in Rockford, in Miramar, and in Los Angeles, and in Chicago, and in New York, and in Atlanta. So it doesn't matter where it's at from a regional and MPO planning perspective, it's how do we share this data and information with each other?
Absolutely.
Because if we go forward, as our member governments go forward with the Smart Metro platform to run the traffic systems, to run the EMS systems, to run the hospital districts' data going back and forth, that whole idea is so huge, and consuming that much electricity is a really big deal.
Well, and then
so we have to be ready.
Automation in the medical care community and hospitals, and the amount of AI processing and the amount of automation processing for the future of healthcare, right? Every community's got a healthcare apparatus, and more of that industry is going towards that just-in-time, like by the millisecond AI decision-making model, right? It is a form of infrastructure. So, our MPO got brought into it very innocently. It was a comedy of errors almost, where we're doing Tiger grants and we're doing land use to okay, who is the governing body that doesn't have authority, but gets the county government and the city government and the utilities and the economic development people and the State Department of Commerce? Like, what's the one common thread where we have an operating system or an operating platform to get all you need to get to make this viable? And, and property taxes. For us, that's our biggest form of revenue to local government. And so how do we all as elected leaders, I'm not one, but how do we understand how we're going to, these data centers are coming no matter what.
Correct.
I understand the impacts of having one, but they are coming because we all like watching cat videos on YouTube, and everybody wants a Zoom meeting, right? And so they're coming because of our own behavior. We're to blame if you don't like. I don't like that they're coming. Frankly,
I've seen the enemy, and it's me.
Yeah, and so it's inevitable. And so I at least want, if I don't want not to be competitive, I don't want another community getting those jobs and processing my data, and my community doesn't get property tax revenue, doesn't get the jobs, right? But somebody else is processing my data, right?
Sense. I mean, that actually makes economic sense. It makes transportation sense because you're putting the infrastructure into your roadways.
Yep.
All of that.
It's ours.
It all comes together.
Yeah, it really does.
And it's a 7-year construction project. So when you think of mobilizing, right, the ability to build out a site over 7 years is daunting.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, first off, it's exciting for us, as we learn from you in this area, it gives, Miramar that ability to actually move forward with the land it has available for the data center. So
it is definitely exciting. The city of Miramar, we are innovative. We are progressive. We want to try new things, whether it's our economic hub and maintenance, safety, and this all ties it together.
Nice and neat.
Nice and neat. So I'm looking forward to exploring data centers and see how it will benefit the city of Miramar. So hearing from what you're doing ties into some of the discussions that we have had.
Do you have a specific site in mind?
I think we have to really explore what's the best site. What would be the best site for something like that? You seem to have had an ideal site which no one will complain about, right? So I think it's incumbent upon us to find something like that within our area that makes sense for the community in order to do so.
Education is going to be, even for us, we don't have it made yet. We don't have anything done yet. Education is definitely the missing element that we're all behind on, right? And there's no such thing as too much education. I'm going to steal somebody else's material, but in the inner suburbs of Chicago is a suburb called Hoffman Estates. Hoffman Estates was the world headquarters to Sears Roebuck. And Sears had their huge campus there, right? It almost like a college campus outside Chicago. And now a data center is looking to go. That campus has been Sears is gone, right? And so a data center is looking to take that campus. And the education that delegation is making is that we've seen the numbers, we will restrict it to the numbers, but the data center will use less water than Sears did in the 90s. Like Sears used more water at that campus because of the innovation and the technology that this industry knows they have to bring to satisfy local governments to even permit this, right? And so there was another community that said, if you take the 6 drive-in car washes I have in town in aggregate, that doesn't mean it's, you never want to play relativity, right? But the mayor of that village was like, the data center we're looking to come to our town on will use less water than my 6 car washes combined, right? And so it's.
Our utilities would love to hear.
But it is education, right? And because there's a lot of, I'm scared about what this is going to do to our energy grid nationwide. I'm very concerned.
Yeah.
And I think the only way we get that MPO board to feel like, okay, we're all in this together,
right,
and we all support it, is education on what the real impact is. And that's a great role for an MPO, is the impact.
So I'm going to wrap this up. This time we're going to bring you back in with Yvette and have a conversation probably in about a year with the listeners. Come back and revisit where Rockford is, where they're going and what we're doing in Miramar to kind of help move forward that innovation in Southeast Florida.
And if you ever want our help, our board chairman is always willing to help. He loves helping. So if you ever want help and advice and who we're working with and how we're working with them, we're always happy to help.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And we'll see you the next time we do another Let's Talk Transportation, the information age.